Hello and welcome to the day ahead. It is Monday, May the 12th. I'm Andrew Gagan. Well, the local share market is set to begin the week positively, with ASX futures up around 0.1%. Global equity markets finished last week in mixed territory ahead of US-China tariff talks over the weekend, which President Trump called a total reset between the two largest economies. US stocks ended fairly mixed on Friday to be down slightly for the week. Among the Mag 7, Nvidia, which is due to report earnings at the end of the month, finished down slightly. Microchip technology shares surged after an upbeat current quarter guidance. Lyft increased its stock buyback program to be $750 million and beat first quarter profit estimates, signalling steady demand for its ride-hailing services, sending its shares higher. Expedia shares slumped after the online travel platform missed quarterly revenue estimates, and Pinterest forecasts current quarter revenue above estimates, signaling its AI tools are boosting advertising spend on the platform and sending its shares up 16% in extended trade. Well, in the wake of the trade talks between the US and China on the weekend, President Trump has said setting 80% tariffs on Chinese goods seems right, suggesting that he's willing to lower the current 145% levies he's imposed. China officials saying that a sustainable development had been achieved in the talks. Meanwhile, India has offered to slash its tariff gap with the US to less than 4% from the current 13% in exchange for an exemption from US tariff hikes. And in the latest Fed commentary, FOMC member Adriana Kugler has said that policymakers should hold interest rates steady for now, saying overall we see health still in the real economy, so that gives us time to make sure that we continue to make progress on inflation and we keep our inflation expectations very well anchored. While Thomas Barkin has said, what I'm hearing from retailers is that consumers are about tapped out. And that means that it's nice to say you're going to pass it on, but it's not as easy to pass it on as you might think. Well, the latest inflation reading in China shows consumer prices fell slightly in April. US Treasuries, the 2-year, rising to 3.89%, while the 10-year rose to 4.38%. Markets pricing a just 15% chance the Fed will cut at the next meeting in June. The US dollar index closing down slightly, and the Aussie dollar is trading at 64.3 US cents. And Bitcoin has continued its ascent to be trading over 104,000 US dollars. Well, oil prices rose on Friday to register their first weekly gain in a month, as the US trade deal with the United Kingdom turned investors optimistic ahead of those talks between the US and China. Brent crude futures rising more than 1.5% to $63 a barrel. Copper was up more than 1%, iron ore up slightly to $98 a tonne, and gold rose more than 1% on Friday as the US dollar weakened. Spot gold at $3,340 an ounce to be up more than 3% for the week. We'll head locally this week. Tomorrow we get the Consumer Confidence Index for May and NAB's Business Survey for April. Wednesday sees the Wage Price Index for the March quarter, followed by labour force data for April on Thursday. Overseas, tonight the US federal budget balance. Tuesday sees the US Consumer Price Index for April and producer prices on Thursday, along with retail sales for the month. And Fed Chair Jerome Powell speaks on Thursday. And on Friday, US import and export prices for April. That's your week ahead. We'll see you again tomorrow.